Beautiful. Gotta go. Right there is where they were laying the other day. And here comes the boulders where they usually are. Right about there. Right there. Right there. Right there. There. Real. Rod tip up. Yes! Yes! Oh, it's a big one. No way, Dewey. Rod tip up. Holy, look at it. Woo!
All right, here we are. Again, we're back. Wednesday, May 7th. Holy shizzle. What's going on today? I got a lot going on. A lot to share with all you guys. A lot of good news for a lot of you. First, before I forget, quick note. You guys remember hearing about the trucker protest in Canada when they were protesting our freedoms? Peacefully protesting, okay? Peacefully protesting. Hundreds of thousands of Canadians and the so-called leadership never spoke to them once. Not once. Take note of that, all right? And then they flew in UN troops, rogue cops on horses, and they beat the living shit out of the citizens. Well, recently, just yesterday, Tamara Lynch, our superhero who organized a peaceful protest, was just found guilty of a few of the charges from then, and the prosecutors hoping to put her away for 10 years for peaceful protest in communist Canada. How amazing is that, huh? Another tidbit for you, for all the curious. Now, anyway, okay, on to the good news. That Guard Pro trail camera manufacturer, the one that I came across innocently on my own, and found their camera to be currently the best one I've ever used, and that is the honest truth. And what happened? How did I do that last year? I went on Amazon and I ordered, I think, a dozen or more trail cameras, maybe even 20. Every price from, I think it was like from $60 cameras to $130 something was the most expensive one. And all sorts of random names I've never heard of because I was so fed up with the over-marketed ones that keep failing me and missing shit to the point I have to put 3 different trail cameras in one zone so I'm confident I'm not missing what I'm after. And it's a very important thing for me. Anyway, the Guard Pro was the one I'm like, oh my god, look at this camera. This thing is freaking wicked. Wasn't missing anything that I could tell, and I had 2 or 3 cameras set up with it anyways. It's out of habit now. And the clarity was unreal. The night vision, the distance of the night vision was huge and perfect and crisp and clear. Audio was amazing. And I think I passed it on to everybody then, or didn't I? No, I didn't yet. And then after hunting season, if Guard Pro didn't get a hold of me, asking me if I wanted to team up with them, promote their cameras in return for 10% discount for all of you here. Anybody who goes on my website, howtohunt.com, can find the page on them and get the discount on them, and they are the best ones. Anyway, so I have to get to what I'm getting at here. I'm rambling. Hold on. I've only got 1 copy of me so far. There we go. So I said, well, why don't you send me a bunch of cameras that you want to promote, and I'll share them with the people. They said, okay. I'm like, well, we'll see. And I went away, and I came home, and guess what? There's 2 freaking boxes of them. And I requested them for all you guys. Oh, there's 1 box. 1 box. Simple packaging. And they sent me cameras with... You get the camera and the solar panel, which I haven't tried yet. Check it out. So I got 2 boxes of those suckers. So originally I was thinking I would give them to each person I had on here, but right now I'm really sucking at getting people on here and my time is all over the map. So I was talking to Sarah last night and we're thinking, well, for all of the people that subscribe to the channel for, what is it, $3 or something? And you fed all those children? Well, guess what? Now, if you have or are subscribed to the channel, we're gonna draw once a week. We're gonna give away a trail camera and the solar panel, and we're gonna ship it to you. We're gonna draw you from that list of people that have subscribed to this channel and help feed the kids. Okay? I think that's appropriate, don't you? And then, yeah, so how many is that? I don't know, we're probably doing this for 8 weeks of trail cameras. And then, as well, now I figured out how to do this. Remember the very kind person who sent us these pine cone fishing lures? And didn't want to do it to make any money. It's too much time. It's a hobby. They're retired and they're comfortable. And we'll do the same with these. Because he donated these to go towards feeding the hungry children. So I think we'll do draws on the subscription membership list. And we'll draw these as well. All right? And give them all to you guys. And we'll ship them. And we'll pay for the shipping. You don't have to pay for nothing. All right? That's the plan. Stan. Excuse me. Now. And if you were subscribed in the past, you want to get on the action, just resubscribe. You can do it. What we're looking at 8 weeks of draws. So what's 8 weeks? 2 months? $6. $6 to get in on that if you haven't. And if you're still subscribed to Feed the Kids, you're in for the draw, right? Very cool. Very exciting. Or maybe I just shouldn't have said anything at all and used them for myself. Kidding. I'm kidding. So, who do we got? What do we got? We got a few follow-ups, couple mentions that need to be mentioned about previous emails. Kelly Dan the Man texted me this morning and said that the mystery screenshot I read yesterday was from a native girl in Lillooet, BC, that had that skinny being running around her neighborhood with the dogs chasing and barking, and one got hurt. That's where that went down. Lillooet, lots going on in Lillooet. The whole zone, the whole province. What's the closest firsthand I've heard from Lillooet? A girlfriend of mine lived just down river from Lillooet, down the Fraser River on the east side of the river. And she said she was sticking her head out the bedroom window, sneaking a smoke when she was a teenager. And she saw a huge reddish-brown, hair-covered being standing there hiding behind a tree looking up at her out in the back 40. Just downriver from there. Just downriver from Lillooet as well is where that native guy went missing when he went on a vision quest. Never found him. There's all sorts. If I started rattling off what goes on around Lillooet, I'd be here for about three hours straight, probably. So thanks for Kelly Dan the Man or reminding me that one. I would have got that screenshot from him when I was ripping around the States. Lots in the go when I lose track of what's up. What else? Another follow-up. Oops, hold on a minute. Crack this sucker open, mark it as red. My screen and my phone is completely split. I gotta get that sucker fixed. From M. Lewis. Alaskan bride kidnapped near plane. That was mentioned yesterday. And he said, what I read some years back, and I don't remember the source, was they were returning in his float plane from somewhere south of Alaska or south of the Alaskan Panhandle. They were returning to their Alaskan home from their honeymoon wherever. I don't remember if it said it was a float plane or if I assumed it was a float plane. Yeah, I think they said bush plane in the email, didn't they? They stopped and tied up for the night. That'll be a float plane, making a light camp. Tied up instead of tied down implies float plane, but I don't remember. And she was abducted. He witnessed her screaming, being taken away at speed over its shoulder. Chasing after them, he could not catch up. Eventually, the next day, he flew to civilization, to Alaskan State Police, who immediately went to the site with him and conducted a significant search. As in, not cursorily, not humoring him. Apart from the initial trail where it ran away with her, it was claimed that no sign was ever found. There were hills/mountains relatively close by. Mysterious disappearances of her, him admitting she was there with him alone at that site. She's now missing, yet he was never detained and never charged. It was claimed no sign was found, but it was said this meant the state police had to have a details or evidence that overwhelmingly had them believe him, which is also why they immediately went to the site and searched, rather than spend time interrogating him to try to implicate him in a crime, claimed to mean the state police had to be holding something back. Reported that he returned to the site for years after searching. No sign ever reported. No word on what happened to him. I can't believe I didn't save that one. Not in my notes or nor on my webpage saved in folder. It was before you started on this topic on your channel. Back then, Google turned up a number of links to bits of info. None as complete as the one I'd first read. And no new details. Google doesn't turn up anything on this story for me now. Not even to Bobby Short's book. And that's why we're here. That's why we're here, because some other sonzo bitches want us to shut up, and it ain't gonna happen. Ever. Unless we're looking down a barrel, right? But then we swing them. Yeah, anyway, I won't say anything. Sarah was cautioning me this morning on my speech publicly. We're worried we're going to get visits. I'll respect her requests to a point. What's next? Who's next? It's amazing. Well, we haven't been too bad here. I think, you know what? I think maybe why haven't we been taken down indefinitely? I wonder if it's because There's so much coming in here nonstop. I wonder if they're using this as a tool. I wouldn't be surprised, right? And I've already said my friendly greetings to all of those greasy sons of bitches that are watching the channel. F you, you coward sons of bitches. Right? Treasonous pricks turning on your people, the people you grew up with, the people in your neighborhood, the people you played ball with, hockey with, went to school with. Now you're wearing some kind of a badge, allegedly, working for the whoever you are to suppress the people, keep information from them, intimidate at times. F all you guys. I know there's a bunch of you here. You go F yourselves. Sorry. Not sorry. I know they're here. And you are slimy pieces of shit. Now, Shock and Awe Then Fear is the title of this email. I had no intention on being at Schwartzwood Lake and had no idea that the people I was staying with had a cottage on the lake. So when they asked me if I wanted to go, I jumped at the chance because I wanted to go fishing. But as I said in my previous email, I wasn't fishing for what I found. There was a sighting behind a friend of mine's house just a couple of years ago. He got so scared that he ran in his house and locked the doors. I laughed and said, if it was that big, what makes you think that the door being locked is actually going to keep it out? I forgot to mention that his house has a swamp behind it, and it's about 30 feet from the back door. And as always, thank you for giving me a place to vent. And then there's another email. What day was that? May 6th. And another one May 6th. Same person. My encounter was in 1978. I'm 68 now. I was in a rowboat 40 to 50 feet from the shore, and it was summer, early morning. Mist on the pond, but not a heavy mist. I heard water spilling like someone was drinking and spilling some of it. I was looking at an overgrown beach with huge boulders to the right, or so I thought, until one of the larger boulders stood up. Did I read this? Yeah, I did. Excuse me. Yeah, I read this. Well, let me finish it again in case some of you guys missed it. It's short. That was the shock and awe part because I then knew what I was looking at. It stood up about 7 to 8 feet tall. It didn't make any sounds. It started to walk towards the wood line, turned to look at me, and at that time I noticed a very young one clung to his chest. Okay, I don't have to read that. That was yesterday. If you missed it, you can look at yesterday's video. Sorry, you guys. Wait a minute. Another slurp of Go Juice. That ought to smoothing me out, right? What do we got here? Excuse me. This is titled Greetings from East Souk. Very familiar with East Souk. Spent a lot of time running around those hills, hiking out to Beachy Head to cast for spring salmon when I was a kid, bow hunting around East Souk. Hey Steve, did you get your laptop fixed yet? My laptop? No, I replaced it. I can't even sign into it, and they said they didn't change the sign-in when I dropped it off to get worked out. Can't sign in, and there's nothing I can do to access shit on that stupid thing. YouTube likes to play your videos out of order for me, so it gets confusing sometimes. Not sure if it's today or 3 years ago when listening. I usually just let them roll through while driving the island for work. If not, I can probably get it recovered for you. Personally, I've never seen or experienced the big guy. I grew up working and living in Slumok's backyard, Pitt Lake, in the late 80s, early 90s. Never had running water or TV/internet, the good old days. I remember bathing in the lake a few times a week and never looking forward to it. Good thing ivory bars float, lol. My stepfather owned a logging company, and I remember going way up into the backwoods of Harrison and Stave as young as 8 years old, harvesting Christmas trees and working as free labor chokerman for many years. Shitty. You would have been in wicked shape, though. That thing's still recording? Yep. Into my adolescence, finally ending up working for money, doing a lot of work in many of Vancouver's and GVRD watersheds. as well as forest firefighting, and flown into many remote spots. The only unusual thing I've seen on the northwest side of Lower Pitt River was back in 1993/1994. I was out after dark going for a walk and for some reason decided to look up. And at first I didn't notice anything, but the road is on the lee side of the mountain with nearly vertical cliffs and always had the feeling of being watched while walking this particular stretch of road. Up above, slowly, I was able to make out the silhouette of an object in the night sky. Not very high, nearly invisible, or black. No lights. The only way I was able to make out its shape was the fact that it was eclipsing the stars as it slowly made its way north overhead, maybe only 1,000 or 2 feet above. Difficult to judge by the sheer size of it. If I had to make a guess, probably about 2 to 3 football fields in size. It just slowly cruised on out of sight beyond the trees. I'm sorry, I know this is a UFO channel. Think you meant isn't. Just found it very unusual. I've thought about it for years, obviously. Obviously. I was with a friend who I still talk with on occasion, and he as well absolutely confirms this event. Whatever it was, we were not intoxicated in any way. Completely sober, just enjoying a late summer walk in a remote part of rural Lower Mainland. I now live in East Souk, and on occasion hear strange cries and screams late at night while almost falling asleep coming from behind my house. My property backs onto East Souk Park. Oh, there you go. I believe nearly 3,500 acres. I don't believe any homeless riffraff hiding out in there yet. I've heard the wolves, the owls, and seen cougar on the security cams. It doesn't sound like any cat I've heard, but I've heard cougars can mimic other sounds to lure in their prey. Really? I haven't heard that one. I don't know about that one. Who knows? For now, I think it's just a cougar, but I've been installing more and more night cams on the property to see if I can capture the source of this strange noise. I'm definitely no stranger to the wild, but this sound is unusual even to me. It almost always happens in the most just before you fall into your sleep and wakes me. And that's enough for today. Keep up the hard work. Love the channel. Take from what you will. Leave the rest. Share my name and tell the liberal government they can come and take them. Sincerely, Matt Peters. Right on, brother. I love hearing those words, and I hope there's a lot more of you out there who share the same attitude. A lot, especially today. East Souk, yeah, Kangaroo Road, lots going on around there. Humpback Road, it all connects, right? You're familiar with the zone. I think the road's changed now, but before it changed, the road to Souk went above the 17-mile pub, right? Goes up on that high and then starts dropping down. Well, back then, the original road was a single wide road, and it just went above into the timber where the new road went. And I'd park right there in the dark, and I'd hike in there. And once you go in that old road, you hang a right, and there'd be ancient old single pole with one wire power lines from who knows when. And that trail would go straight up in the mountain into that big mature fir timber. And you follow that all the way up, and then you'd hit that concrete water line. And then from there, I'd jump on the water line, and I'd gear right down, meaning slow down, and I'd slowly start walking that line, heading back towards Humpback with my rifle and my bow. Sometimes my bow, sometimes a rifle. And I'd hunt through that timber. And I'll tell you what, the amount of times I had a frickin' heart attack because I'd get there too early, and I'd be walking along, because if you walk back along the concrete water line, then you'd get in behind where, I don't know if it's still there, there was a mill there on Souk Road with a big cross in the front yard. Well, now there's a road behind that guy's place that goes right up to serve the power lines up into the watershed. So I'd try to go along the water line, get to that old power line road, and then I'd head right up into there. And walking along the water line, you're dead silent. I don't know how many times I blew deer up right beside me in the shallal in the pitch black. Scare the living shit out of you. But anyways, once you get back up in there, solid felt stared at. I don't know how many times. And that was real close to in line with where I was as a kid at the head of Lannon Creek in Souk, shooting my bow and I knew I was being stared at from that forest. But anyway, there's a lot going on in there, all around there. Isuk, lots. There is someone who wrote in who had multiple things going on their property in Isuk a few years back. It might have even made the newspaper. So there you go. I'll guarantee you're not going to get him on camera, right? But you'll keep him away. You'll keep him away. Keep me updated, man. I appreciate your attitude with the current criminal communist regime here in Canada. Stan. Living in the stand. It's so disgusting what's happened to this country. I try to bite my lip, you guys, but it is so hard. It's so brutal. Unbelievable what's going on in this country today. It's amazing. All right, here we go. Another one. Fresh out of the inbox. Easter UFO. Easter UFO 1976. Steve, this is Dar from the Jemez Mountains of New Mexico again. You read my story about the event I had titled, "It was 8 feet tall, brown hair, white beard, and man-like, and looking at me," when I was elk shed hunting. This story is one that changed the way I think about our world. On Easter weekend 1976, I met a young lady at our local tavern, and I had the luck of spending the weekend with her spending the weekend with me. She was from California, out visiting a girlfriend of hers. She was an English professor from UCLA. It had been raining for the first 2 days, so we didn't get out of the house. But the third day, the sun came out, and so did we. I told her that I was going to bring up one of my horses so I could brush her, and she was going to sit on the porch. I started to brush my horse when she asked me, "Is that something from Los Alamos?" She knew that I'd worked for the labs in Los Alamos, and what she was looking at startled her. So when I turned around to see whatever she was looking at, it got my attention too. It was a bright circular disc that sparkled like a 4th of July sparkler with a bright center mass. And it was rising up out of the mountain, out of the ground, across the river from my house. It was the size of a 2-story building. Holy shit, no way. It rose up about 500 feet in the air and stopped for about 30 or 40 seconds. And this is the part I don't understand. The sky just opens up like someone pulled it apart. Then the damn thing just slid into it and the sky closed up. Blue skies, no clouds, just gone. I've lived in the Jemez for 40 years. Worked in Los Alamos for 20 years and retired. I was a hunting guide and I was in the woods every day and saw a lot of things. But that is one thing I cannot explain. Wow. And then you got a couple pictures of your shed collection. Jealous. What would you guys do if you seen something like that, right? Here's the sheds for all you shed hunters. You know how much effort it goes into finding those suckers, especially around here. It's almost impossible where I am. Look at this quad loaded up with a big load. I'm guessing that's obviously one day. I'm lucky to find one. That's pretty alarming, right? Pretty alarming. Pretty alarming. Something like that should be plastered in front of our eyeballs all across any mainstream anything because, you know, the mainstream news is geared up to keep us informed, right? Unbelievable how opposite it is, right? The mainstream news, well, they try to convince us that they're doing it to keep us informed. It's for the people, but meanwhile, the mainstream news is only meant to do one thing. Keep you as dumb as fuck. Prove me wrong. Oh my god, he said the F word. Not the F word. Who do we got? Excuse me. Many experiences in Michigan. Most of my experiences have been at our bear camp in the UP of Michigan. During fall bear season, spanning 20 years, I've found tracks and still had a hard time relating it mentally, like they confuse your mind. Last bear season, I had one scream at me. It was after a 2-mile walk back to my quad in total darkness after hunting. Normally, I would drive further into my stand, but that day, when I went out there, was a huge blowdown blocking the trail, so I parked much further away. The scream was loud and started kind of like an owl and then morphed into something else. It was on the ground in the trail directly behind my quad, 20 to 30 yards from me. I'm thinking you think about the blowdown, right? It was on the ground in the trail directly behind me. I had 2 lights going, a super bright handheld and a high-powered headlamp. But with the huge blowdown between us, I couldn't see anything. Way more to this story, and more of others. Thanks, Steve. I'll share more. I found how to hunt many, many years ago, but I've been watching every day for 5 years. I love it, and I've learned so much. Share my name. Chris Gillette, Southern Michigan. Sorry, I hope I pronounced it right. Chris Gillette, right? Gillett. Appreciate you, man. You're a brave, honest man. Welcome to the club. Super glad to have you in this club. And please do share more, all right? Let her rip. I got friends of mine who got a hunting cabin in the UP. They live in Howell, Michigan. And the only thing they've been reporting is too many wolves. But a lot goes on in the UP. All right, a couple slurps of coffee. Couple of slurps. And we're going to carry on with the late, great Bobby Short while I'm in here, which I love to do, obviously. Tomorrow's bush day. Tomorrow I'm going to go into the woods for the whole day. And I go to various places and I'm going to film how I'm going to find some ridiculously, hopefully, probably, monstrous Roosevelt bull elk starting tomorrow. Then I think I'm going to head over to the mainland in a few days to collect up a certain trail camera I left in purpose as I focus on this one particular monstrous black-tailed deer that I'm going to pursue this year. I'm going to film it and take everybody along that ride and show how I do it. And I'm going to put that on the How to Hunt channel too. Random note, I know. Here we go. Let's listen to more from Bobby. Shots fired in the air is the entry title this entry. Merced, Merced, County, California, High Sierra Mountain Range, Highway 41, near Bass Lake Fish Camp. Approximately 12:30 p.m., up in the high Sierras out of Yosemite with pines, rocks, and various trees, there were bunches of berry bushes around. Quote, the thing I saw was probably over 6 feet tall. It had grayish hair, big eyes, and was something I did not enjoy seeing, end quote. Yeah, not too many people say they enjoyed it. I was deer hunting during midweek. There was no one in the area except my dog and me. I sat down to eat my lunch, and after I finished eating, I headed back with my dog to my pickup. My pickup truck and continued hunting. Just as I approached the truck, my dog became alert and started running around my truck. I tried to get the dog under control, but was unable to get her attention. That is when she jumped in the back of my pickup and ran to the front of the bed of my pickup. I looked in the direction she was barking furiously and saw this creature on a rock about 50 yards from us. I thought it was a bear at first, but then I put my rifle up to look at it through my scope. The creature turned its head and looked directly at me. I saw that it had gray hair. Its eyes were larger than a bear's, and it did not have a snout like a bear. My dog barked continuously, and after that I fired 2 shots of 7mm Magnum into the air. I opened the door of my pickup, the dog jumped inside, and we left. My comments are that I know what I saw, and what I saw was no animal that I have ever seen before, and I know what I saw was no bear. Thanks for taking my story. Correspondence was signed Hot Rodder 53. Insert full page Joe Colossal Merst track find here. There you go. Another club member didn't ask for it, scared the shit out of him. Now, how is it that they know we're looking at them? That's a pattern in your face. You can't make that shit up. How many people, either you, as soon as their eyes got on that being, walking or running away, it stopped dead. With his back to the human being with their eyeballs on it. Stop. Oh, it's looking at me. Being the being. Oh, human's got his eyes on me. I better freeze. What kind of frickin' skill is that? How many people I've talked to firsthand, read about, throw the rifle scope on one of these people, they instantly look at them back through the scope into their soul, right? Imagine having that skill. We probably do. I think we do to an extent, but not like that. Multiple shots fired at a freezer thief. I'd do that. The amount of time and money it takes to fill the freezer is ridiculous. I'd be shooting. According to an article sent to Bigfoot Encounters from Oregon cartoonist Rob Butler in the Flemingsburg Times Democrat Kentucky newspaper, dated October 15th, 1980, something definitely broke into J.L. Tummy's back porch there in Fairview, Fleming County, Kentucky. According to the report, Toomey, T-U-M-E-Y, was watching a baseball game on television at 8:15 p.m. when he heard a noise in the back porch of his trailer home. Quote, "At first I thought that a dog got out onto the porch, but then it knocked something over," said Toomey. "That's when I grabbed my pistol and ran out the front door and ran around to the back of the house. And I saw what looked like a big man running toward the woods. I emptied the pistol at it as it ran. Toomey ran back inside to reload. Then when he approached the old stable behind his trailer, the creature ran out and started towards the woods. Toomey fired 2 more rounds, but said he didn't think he hit it. It was very dark outside. I couldn't tell exactly what it was, but he said it stood up like a man, and it was a big dark shadow, running and making a thumping noise as it ran. When Toomey told Mrs. Toomey what happened, she called Sheriff G.W. White. He and his deputies arrived along with a crowd of people who heard about it on police scanners. According to Mrs. Toomey, half of Ewing and Fairview showed up with guns drawn to hunt the creature. Holy shit. It's a wonder somebody didn't get hurt, she exclaimed. No clues were found that night, but the next day, John Burke and Estill Helfenstein found some unusual tracks. They also found tracks where something had slid down a bank and some more going up the side of another bank. They followed the prints along a deep gully into the woods, and that is when they found some clear tracks in the wet sand. The tracks were described as being about 14 inches long and 6 inches wide. The tracks were barefoot tracks. When the Toomeys straightened up their back porch, they found another clue. Some long white hairs left on the doorknob and on the freezer. Some didn't know what they were, others said Bigfoot. The sum total of missing items from the Toomey freezer were 2 loaves of bread, a frozen chicken, and a package of hot dogs. Toomey was sure no animal he knew could have opened that freezer. Another strong pattern hitting fridges, freezers, right? Chicken coops, rabbit hutches, clutches, whatever you call them. There was a similar sighting in Mason County the week prior. Charles Fulton opened his door and looked out on what he described was a large, white, hairy creature holding one of his chickens. Fulton fired 2 shots, but the creature ran off into the night. Then, in Vinton County, Ohio, a similar sighting where a hunter apparently saw a creature in the woods and fired a number of rounds at it also. Cartoonist Rob Butler, Milwaukee, Oregon. Next entry, the Missouri shooting. I remember reading about shots fired published in the Janet and Colin Board's Bigfoot Casebook in an area the boards listed as Niger Wool Swamps, supposedly in southeastern Missouri, allegedly near Bloomfield. Unfortunately, I was never able to locate any such place. Nevertheless, the board's report listed a man who shot at a gorilla-like animal that had been killing cows and horses at some point during the 1940s. The board's citation was John A. Keel's book, quote, Strange Creatures from Time and Space, on page 111. Missouri locals referred to their Sasquatch-like being as Momo, which never made as much sense as perhaps Miss Mo, coined by Rob Janis, either Janis or Yanis. Previously published accounts suggest Pike County and St. Charles counties have the bulk of the Momo sightings. Missouri law enforcement recorded cases in Washington and Franklin counties. They are some of the best detailed accounts of a shots fired I have in the data, and it came to me from my good friend, retired Washington County, Missouri Sheriff Pete Floros. Pete reported that shortly after 2 a.m. on a Thursday morning, he and members of the Sullivan Police Department and the Franklin County Sheriff's Department responded to a call in the Hamilton Hollow area, just south of Merrimack State Park, Meramec State Park, in northeastern Missouri. More than a dozen officers spent 2 hours searching and combing through the woods for a wounded beast that informant Arby Boyer of Route 4 in Sullivan said he shot. Boyer told the officer Floros and other law officials that he pumped 9 rounds at point-blank range from a .22 caliber long rifle and from a semi-automatic pistol into the chest of a 7-foot-tall, hairy animal, which he said was within 20 feet of the front door of his home. He showed the officers where the first shots were fired, and they found the empty shell casings on the ground that were taken as evidence. He said the creature walked upright with its head almost meeting its shoulders. Not much in the way of a visible neck and hairy arms that hung by its sides. Boyer described it as brown in color and appeared to be covered with matted hair. After the shots were fired, the animal turned and slowly walked away. Boyer said at the time he ran back inside the cabin/house and returned in time to get off one shot from a .45-70 caliber rifle, which he said hit the beast in the area of its right shoulder. Floros said the responding officers were unable to find sufficient tracks in the dark of that cold winter morning and gave up the search shortly after 4 a.m. The informant, Boyer, was able to draw a rough sketch of the beast for law enforcement, and what he described fit the description known in this area of the country as Momo, the Missouri Monster. Then in April 2011, Pete Floros, it's Floros, wrote to me about another Missouri incident that also occurred while he was with the same Washington County Sheriff's Department. It occurred in close proximity to the previous account, but no shots were recorded as being fired. And here's that report. Floros, quote, "We received a call to our office from a Baptist minister's widow. She was an elderly lady who lived alone in a very remote area of the country. The 980 square miles of our country is riddled with caves. When arrived at her residence, she told me she was hanging clothes out to dry behind her home. At the time, her little yappy dog was on a leash/run and kept barking towards the thick wood line, which was about 100 yards away. Her eyesight and hearing were quite keen considering her age, and she told me she observed a big man in dark coveralls ambling from the woods towards her. She kept shouting, 'Who are you? What do you want?' The woman said the dog was cowering now and whimpering. The man in the dark overalls stopped about 50 feet away, she guessed. He looked at her and swayed one way and then the other. It was then she gave me a description of the man. The description: he appeared to be very tall, and his head appeared to meet his shoulders with no discernible neck. The coveralls instead now appeared to be stringy hair that covered his body, and not overalls. His arms were almost to his knees, and he stood stooped forward. He said there was a strong stench, and she felt the breeze coming in her direction, exclaiming, "It was the devil Satan in a man's form." Officer Floro said the description she gave was almost identical to the prior report we took that week. I never filed this report, especially over our police band radios. Over time, the woman continued to advise Floros, but when he asked her to return to the woods with him, where she observed the man entering the woods, "Oh no," she exclaimed, "but I'll point it out for you." The woman genuinely expressed fear. Floros, however, walked towards the wood line, watching over his shoulder for her direction. Coming within a few short yards of the entry point, he could clearly see tree limbs broken, taller than he was able to reach, broken in the apparent direction of travel the man went. Sheriff Floros followed the trail to a rocky mess of bluff, about where he knew there to be a number of caves, and there he lost the trail among the rocks. I wonder if the sheriff's here watching the channel. You never know, probably. Would be surprised. Or what year was that? Poor woman. All by herself out there. Not cool. Man, here's another entry. So it's the entry titles that you try to walk away from the book and it's not possible, because right away, listen to this entry title. British Columbia Sasquatch shot and killed. How do you stop here? Not gonna. John Kirk, head of the British Columbia Scientific Cryptozoology Club, reported a Sasquatch shot and killed near the Gardner Canal, which is a side inlet of the larger Douglas Channel in Kitlope, BC, Canada. There was unfortunately no follow-up or details to that report available to me. In another account, about 15 minutes outside of Kitimat, a coastal city in northwestern BC, in the regional district of Kitimat-Stikine, is Kitimat Village. It's a native community of barely 600 people. In December 1998, a gentleman by the name of W.M. Bill Oliver reported that on the night of September 18, 1998, Brent Robinson and 3 others were sitting by the local soccer field, talking and passing the time away. The teenagers were alerted to a loud crunching sound in nearby gravel, and when they looked up, they saw a huge, black, shadowy figure that appeared to be much larger than Brent's brother, who's 6'2". When Oliver asked how much larger, the boy replied, "Like the size of the street lamp posts," which I later found out to be about 8 or 9 feet tall. Even more startling was the speed at which the creature moved. Although it appeared to be running with a limp, it ran approximately 150 meters, roughly a bit more than 160 yards. In an amazing show of speed, its arms were straight out in front of its chest and stayed in that position for the period it was seen. That's kind of a weird pose to picture, isn't it? Its arms were straight out in front of his chest, like Superman. Doing the Superman run. The witnesses were shocked to see the creature appear around the bend. Sorry. The bend in the street, and they clearly observed the figure in the dim light of the village store as it entered the cross street at the end of the soccer field. The father of the boy told Oliver the local children were not prone to fabricating stories. They were so visibly shaken by the experience, and they refused to go out again at that night. I asked if the children sat out late at night often, and the father assured me there was no need to worry, as Kitimat Village is very safe and they did not have the same problems that the other cities had. Accordingly, the father and son were both found very sincere, just wondering what on earth they had seen. Mr. Oliver, continuing his questioning, asked if there had been any Sasquatch reports in the area, and the father said he knew of a story of a man who had shot one. He passed on the phone number of someone who knew the story better. Following up directly, Oliver called and spoke to an elderly man named Ken, who first asked why he wanted to know. Feeling lucky, It was this gentleman's grandfather who is reported to have shot the buck, pronounced buck. The first thing Ken told me was it irritated him how the story had changed over the years since it happened. In particular, it disturbed him that the people said his grandfather shot a buck or a bookwis, and that maybe this is an opportunity to tell it like it happened. And here's that story. Well, this ought to be good. Quote, in the spring of 1918, William Hall was out hunting for the family's needs with his good friend. In this case, he was bear hunting 8 miles west of Camano, which is southeast of Kitimat, in a small area known locally as Miskook, Miskook, in native language, a tiny inlet off the Camano River. William Hall and his friend were joined by an elder whose job was to wait in the canoe and watch the supplies. As William and his friend made their way through the terrain, they came upon a split in the valley. It was here where they separated their ways. As the custom went, a wooden stake was pounded into the ground. Upon return, the first hunter would remove it and lay it on the path to let the other know he had safely arrived and to meet him down at the river's edge. That's a good move. I've never thought of that one, but now that we a lot of us do know who's running around the woods, you never know who would pull the stake up now, right? So I'll pass on that one myself today. William, being the first back, did so and started his way back to the waiting elder. Excuse me. It was here on the small trail he came upon a group of 4 Sasquatch, or as known to the Kitimat Indians, the bookwis, pronounced buckwash or buckwish. In absolute terror, William started to run, but apparently blacked out. When he came to, he found himself on a large rock. The 4 bookwish were below, reaching out and attempting to grab the startled hunter. In his own native tongue, he spoke to them, and he said that he was not there to harm them, but only hunting for food for his family. It was at this time that the aggressors seemed to back off, as if they understood the language of the Kitimat. He made his way off the rocky boulder and began heading back to the river's edge, where his partner had been waiting in the canoe. Along the way, the creatures continued to follow him to the river, and now the waiting elder also said in his language that they were not out to harm them. Again, seeming to understand, the buckwish left. Upon getting into the canoe, William Hall slipped into a coma that lasted 4 days. It was on the 5th day he awoke. It was well reported that accompanying the Bigfoot is a foul odor that fills the air whenever the creature is near. William had the same rancid odor permeating his body until the day of his death 8 years later. What? Let me read that again. William had the same rancid odor permeating his body until the day of his death 8 years later. Oh my God, that would suck. So bad was the smell that he had built a hut for himself to sleep in, so as not to offend his family. Oh my God. Since the day he came out of the coma, Ken said, my grandfather could foresee the future. He displayed other traits as a psychic nature as well. What the hell? One night around the fire, William gathered the elders and chief to experience his newly acquired ability to foretell the future. He picked a salmonberry branch that was bare of any leaf or fruit, as it was now the fall, and walked past the chief who was seated. He displayed the branch and proceeded to walk around the circle of hot coals and fire. After the first time around, he again stopped in front of the chief, this time displaying a freshly grown leaf. Second time around, he displayed a large bud that upon the third encompass of the fire yielded a full rose. On the final 2 times around the fire, the elders he displayed an immature salmonberry, and finally a large ripe berry he placed in the chief's mouth. What the hell? The Alaskan Alaska-Canada Highway project. Foretold? Perhaps the most stunning display of William's strange power came when he warned his native people of a snake-like creature with bugs on it that would destroy their land. 20 or so years later, the Alaskan project began. The snake-like creature William envisioned was believed to have been the Winding Black Highway project and the bugs, the many trucks and other vehicles that ride the road. It is not unusual for full-blooded Native Americans or First Nation Canadians to have such gifted visions. The story goes that his grandson also said William Hall picked the day of his death, undoubtedly a reference to the biblical directive in Proverbs 18:12, quote, "Life and death is in the power of the tongue," end quote. The William Hall story had so many facets to it that I couldn't help but find it one of the most fascinating accounts to cross my desk. No doubt, Bobby. No doubt. And then we carry on to the next entries called The Deep South, and it opens with a hog hunter and his pages. I'm going to leave that open. And dive into probably in a day after tomorrow or something, because tomorrow's mountain day, bush day around here. Not really mountains around here. There you go. Wow. That's the first time I've heard of that. Somebody acquiring the same scent and having it for the rest of your life. There's a sentence. That's crazy. Can you imagine if that was a regular pattern? If every single person that got near one of these people acquired their scent and couldn't shake it? Be no question what happened to somebody when you passed them in the mall, right? Oh, there goes somebody who had an encounter. Anyway. Ramble bamble. Alright, I'm going to get moving. I got a lot to do. Lots to do. Had to do roofing all day yesterday. We got 2 chicken coops, and they're pretty tragic shape when we bought the place, and I got the new roofs, one torn off, replaced. Had to nail up fascia wood on both ends by myself and make them straight. It sucked, but I got it done. I got to do it one more time today. Got fencing to do. Got all sorts of shit to do. But anyway, so don't forget, if you came in here late and you missed the beginning, maybe, I don't know, but I'm going to, for the subscription members of this channel, we're going to get these to you. A lot of you. Well, 10 of you. And I got 1 box. And 2 boxes of these Guard Pro cameras. They're going to all be yours. All of them, everything. And then we'll get that drawn out to all of you on the subscription list of this channel. Well, yeah, that's going to be like a handful of weeks of draws. It's kind of cool, right? Kind of them. But at least we're going to get some kind of a somewhat thanks back to a bunch of you for feeding those kids, right? Now, share my story at howtohunt.com. I know there's a shit pile of you out there sitting on it. And trust me, I know how much of a pain in the ass it is making an email, right? It takes time, but it sure helps a lot of people. That's such a good thing. Sure helps a lot of people. Anyway, that's it for emails and experiences. Share it for all of you that I know. I got a lot of good people. I had a lot of good people, even though the boat last summer said flat out they fast forward when I'm babbling. Well, it's not insulting to me. I don't give a shit. Take what you will or leave the rest, right? It's a pretty easy rule to follow. But I'm going to share, because a lot of you people are showing interest in what we are planning and doing with our future, and I've come up with a potential plan. What I'm thinking we might do. It's looking pretty enthusiastic so far. We might move all of our personal belongings out of the main house and into the shop here. Add on a shower and a bathroom off of the wall here, so that we have somewhere to come back to, and rent out our home, the horse, the whole farm. Rent it out. And we're thinking for maybe 2 years. This is a potential beginning plan, okay? Follow me. Rent it out and hit it. Out of here. Be here in the summer, obviously for fishing. I got to do my hunting. So a couple months fishing, a few months fishing, a couple months hunting overseas, what we normally do. And how about this exciting part? And I said to Sarah, I go, you know what? We could potentially just travel around, meeting up with all of you and possibly having a good solid conversation on here. How does that sound? Right? And then along the way, I said to Sarah, going along the way, we can visit all these different places and potential places to make home base as communist Canada continues to spiral into the shitter. But anyways, that's that potential plan seemed to have perked a little bit of excitement yesterday. So while we're working our asses off around here, I said, while you're daydreaming or doing whatever, you think up a plan and I'll think up a plan. Because a wise man told me years ago, nothing happens unless you have a plan. That's true. So that's a potential. It's looking like a real potential, real plan. Exciting, right? Kind of exciting. New is exciting. I love new. I can't stand doing the same shit. So for me, it's like, oh, I'm all over it. I'm all over it. Sarah kind of freaks her out because she's a mom. But that might be the plan. Rent out all the horse facilities I've been creating, the chicken barns over there. Whoever rents it could have their own eggs, and the turkey and the chicken, the poultry barn over here, they could raise their own chickens if they want, and try that for a couple of years, and then see what happens. Right? That's a pretty crazy thought, but it's reality. We can do it. So there you go. All right. I'll be back tomorrow later. I already told Sarah she's coming with me. We're going to go in the woods. And then I'll probably be back a little later on tomorrow and get something shared, I would imagine, from out there. And don't forget, if you are subscribed to the channel, you are going to be in the draw for all these goodies. And what is it, Wednesday today? So maybe Friday, we'll do our first draw this Friday. And then start getting all these things shipped out. And the Guard Pro manufacturer has a bunch of different cameras they have created. I'd imagine it's all the same technology. I've only used one flavor they've had so far, and I haven't tried the solar panel yet. But if you want to look over those and potentially buy some, the link is in the description below, and that will take you to the website howtohunt.com, and on there is the code and the link to get your discounted trail cameras. And for all you hunters out there, it's time now. Now's the time, right? Now, especially if you're using mineral licks, but I'll get into that more in video later. All right, enough babble. I'm out of here.